Absinthe, a beverage with a mysterious past, has many legends surrounding it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Interesting Day. In today's video, we will unravel the history behind this greenish drink. Why was it banned in almost the entire world for a while? Who is the Green Fairy? Is absinthe truly capable of causing hallucinations? To uncover all these answers, let's, as always, start our story from the beginning. Artemisia absinthium is the scientific name of this plant you see here. In the past, doctors used this plant as a vermifuge to treat the flu and for certain stomach problems, among other things. However, until 1792, it was nothing special, just a medicinal plant like any other. It was in that year, 1792, that a doctor named Pierre Ordinaire invented absinthe itself. Originally, absinthe was not an alcoholic beverage, but a medicine, a syrup that, like many other medicines, contained alcohol. A few years later, a man known as Major David became fascinated by this miraculous remedy and its taste. He bought the recipe and the rights from Dr. Pierre, and from then on, David began producing absinthe on a large scale. However, he no longer sold it as a medicine but as an alcoholic beverage. Now, before we continue with the story, let's talk a little bit about the drink itself. The first thing that catches your attention is the high alcohol content. The original versions of absinthe had between 40 and 90% alcohol. Yes, there was an original version of absinthe that reached 90% alcohol, and that's a lot. Just to give you an idea, vodka has an alcohol percentage of 40%, so 90% is excessive. It's like drinking pure alcohol. Absinthe was very successful in Europe for a long time and was the most consumed beverage across the continent and beyond. It was even produced in the United States, for example. A classic characteristic of absinthe is its greenish color, both in the liquid and in the packaging and labels. Eventually, absinthe became so popular that rituals started to be invented. For example, there was the green hour in Europe, usually at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when people would gather in bars, restaurants, cabarets, or even at home with their families to drink absinthe. There are also preparation rituals for the drink. As I mentioned before, the original versions are very strong and difficult to drink straight. So over the years, methods and mixtures have emerged to make absinthe more enjoyable, so to speak. Usually, these rituals involve water and sugar. Now you may have noticed that throughout the video, I showed you various artworks and paintings about absinthe. That's because during the peak of absinthe's popularity, many artists claimed that the drink was fuel for imagination. They said that the doors of ideas and inspiration opened under the influence of absinthe. For example, there are two famous people, Edgar Allan Poe and Vincent van Gogh, who have used absinthe a lot throughout history. During this peak period, the drink earned the nickname Green Fairy due to the supposed hallucinogenic effect of the drink, and green due to the color of the liquid. However, not everything was rosy. While peasants and artists loved the drink, other people hated it, especially doctors. Gradually, absinthe began to be treated by the government and doctors as a demonic drink, something that only brought problems and should be prohibited. Due to various cases of violence, hallucinations, seizures, and muscle spasms being linked to the beloved or cursed absinthe, for example, Van Gogh, when he cut off his ear, was under the influence of the drink. But let's not forget his other psychological issues. There is a well-known case that even reached the court, where a man killed his entire family and blamed absinthe, among other cases. Just like absinthe exploded throughout Europe and beyond, its infamous reputation also spread rapidly, leading to prohibitions. This was the golden era of absinthe, which lasted for over 100 years. However, in 1910, the drink was banned in Switzerland, and almost all other European countries followed suit. Only 4 countries in Europe, namely Spain, Denmark, England, and Portugal, did not prohibit the drink. Even in countries where it remained legal, absinthe had to be produced with controlled levels of thujone. Thujone is a substance found in the leaves of the absinthe plant, which people believe to be responsible for hallucinations and more. It is worth noting that after marijuana became popular and after absinthe was already banned, many people started to believe that thujone was a substance similar to THC, but this was misinformation. Now let's uncover all of this and truly understand the effects of absinthe on our body. Firstly, it has been scientifically proven that the substance found in the absinthe plant does not possess hallucinogenic properties, even in large quantities. However, this substance called thujone has a significant impact on our body's muscles and nervous system, and these effects can vary. You may experience an extreme sense of relaxation and become very calm, or even have muscle spasms and contractions. But were none of the cases of violence in the past due to people's hallucinations? Well, absinthe can be a beautiful and super interesting drink, but that mystical story is just fancy. Still, it's just an alcoholic beverage, and a very alcoholic one at that. How many people out there do foolish things under the influence of alcohol, consuming much lighter substances than absinthe? But let's talk about the present day, where absinthe is being legalized again in some countries. Science has already proven that if the levels of thujone are not very high, absinthe will not cause any harm. Therefore, gradually, the bans have been lifted around the world. In the United States, if I'm not mistaken, it was legalized around 2007 after 95 years of prohibition. And in some European countries, it made a comeback after 1988. Are you curious to try it, or have you already tried it? Do you think absinthe has any property that activates our imagination? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for joining us, fellow adventurers. See you next time.